Section 23, Closing Day. Signing, funding, recording, and getting the keys. When we left Ashley in Section 18, she and Daniel had completed the final walkthrough. What should have been a simple final visit became another lesson in buyer representation when they discovered water on the laundry room floor. Instead of ignoring it because closing was approaching, Daniel documented the condition, contacted the listing side, obtained additional information, and helped Ashley evaluate the situation. The problem was addressed. Ashley decided she was comfortable proceeding, and she stood in the empty living room asking, "Tomorrow, this is mine?" Daniel gave the same cautious answer he has given throughout this entire transaction. "If everything funds and records properly, we're almost there." Ashley shook her head and said, "You really refuse to say it's done, don't you?" Daniel laughed. "Not until it's actually done." Today, Ashley is going to understand exactly why. Closing morning arrives. Ashley meets with Maria, her escrow officer, to sign the remaining documents. Depending on the transaction and available procedures, signing may occur in person or through other authorized methods. Ashley is presented with a substantial package of documents. There are lender documents, escrow documents, title-related documents, affidavits, settlement information, and other items applicable to her transaction. She signs what feels like her name approximately 400 times and finally puts down the pen. Then she looks at Maria and asks, "Okay, can Daniel give me my keys now?" Maria smiles, "Not yet." Ashley looks at Daniel. "You people really enjoy saying that." Here's the lesson. Signing is not necessarily the same thing as closing. In the standard Arizona Realtors residential resale transaction, close of escrow is tied to the deed being recorded by the appropriate county recorder, subject to the actual contract terms. Before that can happen in a finance transaction, several things generally need to come together. The buyer must satisfy applicable closing requirements. Required funds need to be received. Loan documents must be properly completed. The lender needs to authorize and provide funding according to its process. Escrow must be in a position to complete the transaction. Then the appropriate documents can be submitted for recording. Daniel explains it using 4 words Ashley should remember: sign, fund, record, possess. Those events may happen close together, but they are not the same event. Ashley has now signed. Next comes funding. Rachel's lender reviews the completed closing package and any remaining requirements. Once the lender is satisfied, loan proceeds can be sent or authorized according to the lender and escrow process. Ashley has already arranged for her required funds to be delivered using independently verified instructions. Michael's broker rule for closing day is simple: never promise keys based on a signature. Why? Imagine Daniel gives Ashley the keys at 9 a.m. because she signed her documents. She immediately hires movers and begins unloading furniture. At noon, a lender issue delays funding. The deed doesn't record that day. Now Ashley is occupying a property the seller may still legally own under the transaction status, and Daniel has created a problem that did not need to exist. Possession should occur according to the purchase contract and any written agreement between the parties, not according to everyone's excitement level. Ashley asks, "So what does recording actually do?" Daniel explains that the deed transferring the seller's interest to Ashley is submitted to the county recorder as part of completing the transaction. ARS Section 33-411 addresses recording instruments affecting real property. Recording provides public notice and is central to the Arizona closing process. Under the commonly used Arizona Realtors contract, close of escrow is generally defined by recordation of the deed. So Daniel watches for confirmation rather than assuming the transaction closed because someone said it should record soon. This is also where the title and escrow work from earlier sections comes together. Maria has coordinated documents and funds. Title requirements have been addressed according to the transaction. Existing obligations that must be paid through escrow are handled, and the transaction is prepared for recordation. Around 2:15 that afternoon, Daniel's phone rings. "We have confirmation. The deed recorded." Daniel smiles. Now he calls Ashley. "Congratulations, you're officially closed." There is silence. Then Ashley screams. Again. A few minutes later, Daniel meets her at the property. Before handing over the keys, he confirms that possession is due under the contract. This matters because close of escrow and possession are not automatically identical in every transaction. Sometimes the parties agree to possession at close of escrow. In another transaction, there may be a written post-possession or pre-possession arrangement. Agents should never assume. Daniel hands Ashley the keys. She stands at the front door for a moment and says, "I can't believe we made it." Daniel smiles. Think about everything that happened between Ashley's first text and this moment. She went from an online mortgage calculator to actual lender qualification. She learned about loan programs. She selected a property. She wrote an offer. She negotiated a counteroffer. She deposited earnest money. She reviewed title. She read the SPDS. She completed inspections. She negotiated through the BINSR. She dealt with a low appraisal. She reviewed closing costs. She survived final underwriting. She completed the final walkthrough. And now the deed has recorded. But Daniel's job isn't quite finished. There are transaction records to complete. Ashley needs to retain important documents. There are post-closing issues buyers should understand. And most importantly for this Disclosure CE course, we need to bring together everything Ashley learned about investigation, disclosure, documentation, and informed decision-making. Ashley opens the front door and smiles. The transaction has closed, but our course isn't finished yet. In the next section, we're going to look more deeply at the disclosure responsibilities that followed Daniel throughout this entire journey, and what happens when an agent knows something important and decides not to say anything. Online Discussion 1. Ashley has signed all of her closing documents and asks Daniel for the keys. Why shouldn't Daniel automatically release them? Answer. Signing documents does not necessarily mean close of escrow has occurred or that possession is due. Daniel should confirm that the transaction has completed according to the contract, including applicable funding and recording requirements, and verify when possession is contractually authorized before releasing keys. 2. What is the practical difference between funding and recording? Answer. Funding generally involves the lender providing or authorizing the loan proceeds needed for the finance transaction after applicable requirements are satisfied. Recording involves submitting the deed and other recordable documents to the appropriate county recorder. Under the commonly used Arizona Realtors resale contract, close of escrow is generally tied to recordation of the deed rather than merely the buyer signing loan documents. 3. Why should Daniel confirm the possession provision even after the deed records? Answer. Possession is governed by the parties' contract and any applicable written agreement. Although many transactions provide possession at close of escrow, parties may agree to another arrangement. Daniel should follow the actual contractual terms, rather than assuming recording automatically means the buyer may immediately occupy the property in every transaction.